So sometimes in a case, whether you're a prosecution, plaintiff, you got to bring up the ugly stuff in your case just so that you can diffuse it. You know, you want to embrace it, not hide from it. In this case, Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, obviously he is legendary in terms of his use of alcohol and other substances. You name it, he's done it, and he said so. So it came up in this case, remember, just in case you've been, kind of gotten lost in the shuffle of the soap opera, $50 million claim by Johnny Depp that Amber Heard defamed him, libeled him in an article she did back in 2018. She then counterclaims or cross-complains, as they would call it in civil court, for $100 million, saying, oh yeah, calling me a liar is damaging me. So let's watch now some of Johnny Depp's testimony on direct when he talks about his substance abuse challenges.
I told him I'd pretty much done all the drugs that I was aware of by the time I was 15 years old, and which was true. Now, that doesn't mean to say that I continued into that, you know, forest of possibilities with regard to substances. I wasn't dropping acid every 5 minutes. I wasn't. There were many years that I didn't touch a substance and no drugs. There were many years that I didn't have a drink. So it's, as I said, it's never been for the sort of party effect. It's been for trying to numb the things inside that have that can plague someone's who's experienced trauma. But the characterization of the characterization of my substance, quote unquote, substance abuse that's been delivered by Ms. Heard is grossly embellished, and I'm sorry to say, but a lot of it is just plainly false. I think that it was easy. It was an easy. I think it was an easy target for her to hit, because once you've trusted somebody for a certain amount of years and you've told them all the secrets of your life, that information then, of course, can be used against you, especially if it's taken to a point that is teetering on impossible, and teeters over impossible, in fact, at times. I am not some maniac who needs to be high or loaded all the time. In fact, in Australia, from before Australia and in Australia, I had been off of alcohol for, I believe it was about 18 months.
There it is. He lays it out for this jury. Mitra, how do you think that played for this jury?
I like what he said about it not being about him partying and raging and going crazy. The fact that he had this childhood history of trauma and sort of this escapism behavior is really consistent with that and with the way they describe the learned behavior from his father, who always sort of escaped his mother's attacks by trying to stay out of the line of fire. That's a behavior that Johnny picked up. So it sounds like he has this sort of avoidance for conflict. And we're hearing now that, the substance abuse is really to try to avoid all of the trauma and hurt, as opposed to him being, a partying actor.
Yeah, so maybe they're feeling sorry for him because he experienced what he did, and this is how he deals with it. But Jack, let's focus on the legal here. Is it important enough? Where's the relevance if it doesn't directly impact whether or not he was abusive to Amber Heard? I thought maybe for damages, because there's going to be some argument that any work he lost was because of his own behavior. Where do you see this stuff going?
If we start talking about the drugs, a couple of places. First of all, credibility is everything. It matters in every single element. But in itself, it's not an element, right? But what we do think, and this is something I'm thinking about because I'm dealing with a lot of crim sex cases, a lot of domestic cases. If I have somebody who is unconscious because they're high or drunk, the problem is if they say, I don't remember what happened, you now can't come back and deny it. So that's the worst of all worlds. And Depp just mentioned Australia. That's one of those spaces where they're going to be arguing that very point. So the issue of the use of drugs is relevant in the first sense because of the credibility piece. But I have to tell you, as I watch this piece of tape, what really jumps out to me is his vulnerability. And we keep hearing the term A-lister, and that's important because he is that. But the thing is when you watch him, at least in that piece, from my perspective, what I see is not the A-lister. What I see is a 15-year-old boy sitting in his room, troubled because of his family. And from that perspective, all of a sudden, he's me. All of a sudden, he may be other people of this jury. And that really matters. So does it matter? No, except for it matters completely. How's that for an answer?
What are you, an attorney or something?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm run for office next. It's coming.
I get that. I do. And I just wonder, because I'm cynical, is that something he's crafted, or is that really him? Sometimes cross-exams where you get a little more honesty. So let's look at some of the cross-examination. Now, first of all, counsel for Amber Heard is Benjamin Rottenborn. I mean, come on. Did that come off the script of Pirates of the Caribbean 7? That's his name. And in fact, Johnny Depps had a little fun just pronouncing it. But this is where he is cross-examined by Rottenborn on his 18-month sobriety. Let's watch.
A week after your wedding, you left for Australia to start the process of shooting the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean movie, right?
That sounds about right, yes.
And Amber was filming in London at the time. She left directly from the wedding to fly to London to film London Fields with Billy Bob Thornton, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And the plan was that she was going to fly out from London to Australia directly to join you for the filming of Pirates 5, right?
At some point, yes.
And she was going to stay in that house with you for the duration of the filming, correct?
I don't know that it was the duration, but sure.
Okay. And you testified on Tuesday, I guess, that when you went there in February of 2015, you'd been off of alcohol for 18 months. You testified to that. Remember giving that testimony?
Yes.
That's just nonsense, right? We've already looked at
Thank you.
May 2014, you were drunk on that plane, and you've admitted to that. So that's not 18 months before. So that testimony that you gave when you said you had been sober for 18 months before you arrived in February of 2015 was not true, correct?
What's the objection?
May we approach?
Your Honor.
What's the objection?
He's testifying, Your Honor.
Mr. Depp, you had not been sober off of alcohol for 18 months before you went to Australia in February 2015, correct?
It's possible that it was not 18 months, maybe it was 17, maybe it was 16. Maybe.
It was actually a lot less than that because at a minimum, you were drunk on that plane flight from Boston to Los Angeles in May of 2014.
That's incorrect, sir. I said that I had had a glass of champagne and I had taken a double dose of the narcotics, of the opiates. Okay. That's a very different thing from being drunk.
Okay, and a very different thing from what you texted Paul Bettany, correct?
Again.
Okay, so the Boston flight was in May 2014. You go to Australia in February of 2015, having testified that you were off of alcohol for 18 months. Now, when you went to Australia in February of 2015, you also lied to the cast insurance company that was insuring you for Pirates 5, didn't you?
After she cut my finger off?
No, well, that's your account of it, sir. Before you went to Australia, let's do it this way. Let's pull up Exhibit 500, please.
500?
500, Defense Exhibit 500.
Defense Exhibit 500.
When you were asked the question in this cast insurance form, are you currently using, or in the last 12 months, have you used any of the following? You say yes, that you've used some prescription drugs, and when in the question that says illegal substances, whether prescribed by a physician or not, you check no, correct?
Yes, sir.
At around this time when you can take that down, thank you. At around this time when you flew to Australia in February of 2015, you were starting to feel depressed about your role in Pirates and your acting legacy generally, correct? Well, let's do it this way. Let's put up Exhibit 350, please.
Well, go ahead.
That one question kind of bothers me a little bit. Jack, what do you think about the one about suggesting you haven't taken any illegal substances, prescribed or not? I think that's vague and ambiguous because I'm not sure. You're not going to have a doctor prescribe cocaine, but he may be suggesting that the Roxys, the opioids, which are a controlled substance but easily prescribed, he seems maybe he's lumping all that in there. It's just a little confusing to me what he's trying to get at here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Remember, if you're going to do cross-examination, declarative statements, one fact at a time. The purpose is to control this. Yes, when the objection was that the attorney is testifying, absolutely. That's what cross-examination is about. What you're going to get is you did this, you did this, you did this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. All 5 of those things is what it is. The purpose is to drive it for them and have them agree.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a slippery dude to make that work, right? Okay, Mitra, guess what we're going to talk about after this break? I'll give you one guess.
More Johnny Depp?
You got it. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and talk more about Johnny Depp. He's been on the stand for 2.5 days, and he'll be back Monday, but we've got the recap. I'm exhausted by it myself, so I'm glad we got a chance to take a breath. We'll do this and come right back.